All right, we're going to talk about coordination. And this is a very important word in the TI world. Everybody talks about it like they know what that means. And I honestly, on every project I'm on, there's some kind of a coordination disaster. And that happens between the architect and the consultants, the architect and the furniture dealer, the contractor and the owner, the contractor and the landlord. It's a mess. And I think part of that is because coordination is often misunderstood for communication. There's a big difference. Yes, we can talk about things. We can have a meeting about certain things. That's communication. For coordination to happen, you need a leader. You need someone to take ownership, but more importantly, you need someone who understands the industry as a whole. They have to see the bigger picture to see where all the pieces fit so that they can coordinate it, to make sure that certain aspect of the project is now handed to the other person or other entity that needs to work on it, right? And it all has to come back to basically get constructed. Let me walk you through what I think are the key components of coordination. Really, for coordination to happen, there are two things, right? There's coordination of people and there's coordination of drawings. Now, typically, this coordination has to happen by, I would say, the architect and the owner's rep or project manager mainly. Now, every company has their own project manager, right? And don't mix up a project manager title from an architect to a project manager title to an owner's rep, for example, for a client. Completely different. Yes, it's the same word, project manager, but they do completely different things. An architect's project manager is responsible for their team, figuring out their resources, figuring out their deliverables, and everything that goes along with that. Owner's rep represents the client. They're responsible for the project as a whole, right? So they're overseeing all the design consultants, including the architect and everybody else, the landlord, the client, the contractor, furniture, technology. The owner's rep has to have an understanding of the big picture and how everything ties together. Two separate types of project manager, but they're both leaders in making sure that coordination takes place during the project. And let's go back to people. So coordinating people, it's pretty straightforward. You want to make sure that your team, right, and the team includes all the players, listen to my old episode, understands what their scope of work is, right? So what is their scope of work and what are they delivering? What the timing on that deliverable is, 3, right? When it's due, basically. And they have to understand the dependency, meaning like once they finish their work, who does that have to go to? Or how maybe it's 3 or 4 other people it has to go to. And I'll give you an example of, actually now we're jumping into the drawing. So yes, so you have to understand what the dependencies are. That's the people coordination, right? And people sometimes also is the same thing as a firm, companies, right? You're coordinating companies and people. Make sure when you have a meeting, a coordination meeting, you have the correct people in the room. If you're talking about, I'll use this example. If you're talking about power and data, let's say you want to understand, okay, I have a space, I need to understand where does the power and data go? Have all the correct players in the group, right? Have the architect. You don't need the MEP engineer. The architect should be knowledgeable enough to know about the minimum number of outlets required. The engineer really just takes that information and engineers it. You don't need them. What you do need is a technology consultant, because if certain equipment or appliances need power or data or anything else, the architect has to be aware of it to draw it. Have the furniture dealer available, or at least the designer for the furniture available, so that you understand, okay, these furniture pieces, where does the power and data have to go? How does it tie back to the system? Is it hardwired? Is it plugged in? So all of these things are items that have to be discussed during the meeting. So make sure the correct people are in the room. That also sometimes includes maybe a lighting consultant, because, the client, this is a bad example because nobody uses projectors anymore, but in the old days we used to have projectors on the ceiling, and that projector had some kind of a J box, and they hang. But for example, if the technology consultant providing the projector, they didn't know that there is a pendant light fixture hanging, and they placed the projector, and the place got constructed without either of those being aware of this, now you have a projector that's maybe blocked by the light fixture, right? So these are the type of coordinations that needs to happen. Now, we talked about people coordination. Let's talk about drawing coordination. The example I just gave you is a drawing coordination. Every consultant has a deliverable. Those deliverables are typically a drawing, right? And that means, and everybody, by the way, they have their own specialty, right? Architects in general are responsible for the layout, making sure that the clearances and the codes are met, and the aesthetics of the project, right? And they also are responsible for making sure that all the other components from these other consultants are all collected, and the drawing has, makes sense and basically is synchronized. I don't like to use the word aligned, but let's use the word synchronized. Now, when the architect does the wall layout, right, space plan, then a lot of times architects are knowledgeable enough to know how big workstations or office space furniture looks like, so they can put blocks in it. But at some point, they have to fly in, once they get the dealer, they have to fly in the real outline or configuration of that workstation into the space, right? And when they do that, that's when minor adjustments have to take place. Okay, so let's say you have a storage system against the wall, and your power and data has to be shifted so that it clears it, so that the user can basically plug stuff in and it's not blocked by the furniture. So that's a coordination. Or let's say workstations have a panel that's 48 inches, or let's say 60 inches tall, but there's a thermostat somewhere on the wall and the panel blocks it. That's a coordination. Those are all things that all these consultants have to be aware of to make sure that in the field there's no conflict, right? So I'm trying to see if there's any other good examples I can give you. Oh, and here's another thing. If the coordination is not done properly when drawings are done, let's say the architect designs the space, gives that background drawing to all the engineers, the furniture dealer, and they start designing on it, right? They're engineering based on that layout. And then 2 weeks later, the client says, hey, can we move my wall this way? Or can we flip the desk so it's on the other side? And the architect does it, but forgets to hand those drawings to the other consultants, right? And let's say those consultants are not under the architect. Now, if they're under the architect is responsible for coordinating it. Like, even if they forget, they are responsible because they own the contract of all those people under them. But let's say they're not contracted with them and they forget to give those drawings to the other consultants. Drawings get done, contractor starts, building, and they follow the architectural on certain things, but then furniture arrives, and the furniture doesn't have the power and data because the architect forgot to give those drawings and everybody else forgot to flip their drawings, right? Now you have a big disconnect. That's a great example of how coordination or lack thereof can cause a big problem down the line when construction starts. These are the things you need to think about, right? Coordination's simple, but it's different than communication. Coordination is making sure that everybody who's supposed to do their part has done it, and it's confirmed that it's been done, right? So after technically you've coordinated it, double check it. Make sure that, go through the checklist. Okay, is everyone working off the same correct drawings? Let's flip the pages with everybody. Make sure that we captured everything. That's the proper thing to do to make sure you have a good, solid set of drawings so that you can hand it over to the contractor to build from. The contractor's job is to build from the set of instructions given to them. That's it. Their job is not to design. Their job is not to guess or make assumptions. Their job is to say, okay, I'm assuming you guys are all professionals. You're handing me a tight set of drawings, and I'm going to build from this, and hopefully I can go heads down and build it instead of ask a lot of questions. Because at the same time, if that drawing is not tight and there are a lot of questions, then that contractor has to constantly send RFIs. That can delay the project. It's a crappy set of drawings, right? So the better the set is, the more coordinated it is, the better the process moves smoothly when construction starts. That's it. That's how you coordinate it. Or that's how you coordinate. So don't mess it up. Stay tuned. More to come. All right. Thanks.